Rite of Passage, the podcast with Giabra Martin.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the episode. We are here today with author R.D. Moreno. How are you today, sir?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. Yeah, we were talking before this just about kind of using the nom de plume or pen names, and then gets a little bit confusing. People are addressing you by like people are calling you R.D. and you're like, well, I guess I'm kind of stuck with this now. You're like,
Right.
wonderful. So tell me about your book. I know you have a copy with you here.
Yeah, I do. So Zeta 5, the way I present it is Dune meets Game of Thrones meets Stargate. And
Nice.
that's how I present it. It's a combination of sci-fi and fantasy. Um, a little bit of a spoiler. There is a dragon involved in the book.
Okay.
Um, so so that So a little bit of I'm finding that a lot of the fantasy people, they're starting to almost require that a dragon be part of their fantasy nomenclature, and that's totally fine with me. Um, and I always wanted to write, and what happened was I, I was an IT manager with a large communication company for about 40 years. And when COVID hit, I was kind of pushed into retirement. It-
Mm.
I was already making an exit plan. It happened a little sooner than I planned, but it actually they did me a favor in the long run.
Yeah.
So I was we were in the process of purchasing our retirement home and moving here to North Carolina.
Nice.
And yeah, the area is really nice. We have 2 acres and a lot of
Cool.
woods and trees around. Our closest neighbor is probably 200 yards away. And
Okay.
with all the trees and stuff, we barely even hear or see them. We know who they are, and we talk with them on a regular basis. So it's not like we don't know our neighbors, but it's
Yeah.
kind of, but, but yeah. So I remodeled our family home. That was the plan when we moved here. Was going to remodel it and give my wife the home that she wanted. And then after I was done with that, it's like, okay, what's next for me? And I always wanted to write, always, but just never had the time to do it. And in
Right.
IT, you're working 12, 14 hours a day. I had the last part of my career was a director managing HP,
Mm.
managing their network infrastructure. So I had over 100 people working for me around the world. So you get on calls and you're there. Sometimes you're on calls for 24 hours trying to
Right.
help get things resolved, doing escalations and the rest of it. I was a little bit of burnout, and retirement came. It actually came at a perfect time for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I can imagine like working in IT for like I don't know if HP was who you're working for, just a client, but like an international company and
It
you're
was a client. Yeah.
right, but yeah, with an international company, I mean, you gotta work
Yep.
with whatever time zone, the emergency is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah, and they have companies all around the world or offices all around the world. So you've got to
right.
make sure that they're up and running. And if there's problems, you've got to get them addressed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but that whole COVID came around and then, I had the opportunity to finally write my book. I get that all the time from
Yeah.
authors like,
Yeah.
well, and because it is so hard to fit it into the schedule, right? Like how am I going to
It
bring this
is.
into life? And I'm in that same boat, right? I mean, I ran around with this dream for a decade and then just never really got serious until COVID. And it was like, well, I got a little extra time, everything's redirecting. You're like, wait, what do we really want to
Right.
do? Yeah.
Yep.
So your book looks very, very large. Is it the first in a series or is it like a standalone?
Um, well, when I first started writing the book, the plan was a standalone because I just wanted to be able to write and get my book out there. And
Hmm.
then actually I got to a point, I found a group called Paper Raven's Book that helped me do all the editing and get a
Nice.
cover and actually get it formatted for me so that I could get it on Amazon, and probably, I don't know. So the book launched, uh, it'll be a year this next month that it
Nice.
launched. And so as it was getting ready to launch, I'm going, no, I'm not done here.
Yeah.
So it actually the book is a little over 600 pages. It took me just a hair over 6 months to write it.
Hmm.
And like I said, when I'm getting ready to launch, no, I've got more to do. So I've
Yeah.
actually completed three other books in the series, and I'm actually working on book five now. Seven
Wow.
chapters into book five. Yeah.
Goodness. So those ones, they all in like the editing phase, or you're just holding on to them for now for the
I,
timing?
I'm holding on to them now for the time. I'm trying to get a following with this first one, and then once
Right.
I get an actual following with this one, then I can because right now on Amazon I've got about 30, I've got what 33 reviews on it,
Nice.
and over half of them have commented that they can't wait for the next book to come out, which is
Right.
great. But if you don't get some kind of following going with it to get some kind of income to generate on the book, uh, being an indie author, trying to do all the editing and all the rest of it, that's not a cheap prospect by any means.
No, especially like, and I've heard of Paper Raven books. I think I follow their newsletter, um,
Yeah,
and it's great having a service, right? That like professional service that will take your book from a manuscript to like a completed, edited work that you can feel good about and stand behind. And it's not going to have the
right.
typos that readers. Because something about the typos like that really turns readers off. Even though like
It
even
does. Yep,
yeah, even books from like Penguin occasionally have them, or like sometimes the New York Times has typos. But it's one of those things that like, and it feels like people are looking for it in the indie books. They're like expecting them to be there, and it trips people up. So, but it does get expensive very
exactly.
quickly. Like you're not wrong, and it takes time to recoup that investment.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I went through 3 rounds. I went through 3 rounds of editing
right.
to get it to the point where it was, and that was another thing for me. It is even as an IT director, I could put out a letter to executives and the rest of it.
Hmm.
Was it really what I wanted to write? No, but it was with word editor and other things I could get where I needed to be. But
Right.
vocabulary for me was not a great experience for me going through school and the rest of it. So I really struggled
Yeah.
with vocabulary. But when I published this book, working with the editors and the rest of it, I
Hmm.
learned a ton, just
Oh
just
yeah.
a ton.
So your
And
your experience with Paper Raven, just really quick. I mean, was that like that was a good service, and you were like, you know what, these are great folks.
oh yeah, absolutely. And they don't. I actually have a Wednesday marketing call with them where they
Nice.
bring in all the people that have already been published and try
Hmm.
and help you. If you have questions, they try and address it. They've actually written a book of their own to try and help people try and get through marketing and the rest of it, because that's the other part of it too. That
Right.
as a writer, you think writing the book's going to be the hardest part. When it comes down to it, it's actually dealing with the marketing, trying to get the book out
Yeah.
there.
No, it's funny. You redirect away from being an artist, and you have to redirect yourself to being entrepreneur, salesperson, and thinking in totally different terms. Of like, okay, my book is
Yeah,
actually a business, and you're like, all right, how do we go about the advertisement, the promotion, all the language? I mean, it's there is a lot of skills that go into this dream, especially as an indie author and not having all that support that you may
right.
get elsewhere through a big publisher or something. It's a lot of fun though. I'm trying to just enjoy the journey and be less like like,
Yep.
oh god, I'm intimidated by the whole marketing and all this, and just embrace it. Of like, you know what, imagine all the things we're going to learn in the next year, in the next month, right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So it looks like Star Wars was a big inspiration for you, correct?
It was, but actually, what kicked off the writing process for me
Mhm.
was when they re-released Dune.
Okay.
So I had read the first Dune book. I hadn't read I have not read the entire series. I read the
Yeah.
first book, when I was a lot younger, and then like I
Hmm.
said, I got into working the rest of it and really didn't get to do a whole lot of reading. But when they re-released the Dune movie, that really affected me to a point where it's okay. Now I've got to put something together because it's time to sit down and write something.
Yeah. Well, very cool. I haven't read the book. I did see both movies. I know they came from a book. They were quite
Right.
good. But how old is the Dune book? I mean, it goes back some decades.
So yeah, it's so Dune. It's got to be what, 50 years old,
No kidding.
60 years old. Yeah, it's
Oh,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
interesting. I wonder why the timing now that they finally turned it into yeah. I
Well,
wonder.
well, they actually did a movie, an earlier version of the movie,
Hmm.
probably in the, I think it came out in the late 70s.
Oh, interesting.
Um, yeah. And that one was quite interesting. And but the newer version, it closely is a lot closer to the book itself
Hmm.
than the original movie version was from the
Interesting.
70s. Yeah.
So you kind of wanted to write for like a long time, and then it's just kind of like life
Yeah,
got in the way. Like we're working, we got other responsibilities.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let me ask you, how did that whole like writer's dream seed get planted for you? Because I mean, even for me personally, I'm like grammar was not my best subject and vocabulary. I was like kind of unlikely candidate,
Right.
right?
Right. Right, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
I used to write. I wrote some short stories in school and the rest of it. And they
Hmm.
never really went anywhere.
Hmm.
But uh, I was always affected by sci-fi and fantasy
Hmm.
and Forbidden Planet. When I was a kid and I saw Forbidden Planet,
Hmm.
that did it. At that point, I was hooked with sci-fi.
Nice.
And and then you bring in Jason and the Argonauts, and that brought in the fantasy elm of it. And I just from the time I was a kid would absorb all of that and
Yeah.
just and I would see these movies and I would read parts of the book and I'm going, I think I could do something like that. I would
Interesting.
really like to do something like that.
Yeah.
And so it just played in the back of my mind until I finally sat down and did something about it.
No, I love that. I've always loved, yeah, science fiction myself. I need to read more science fiction, but just like the possibilities and what does the
Yep.
future hold and all this kind of stuff. And even I'll go into like I'll read like the dystopian stuff too, like the 1984s and Brave New World. And I just love any
Yep.
of that speculating about the future and what we're gonna have, what we're gonna build, what it'll be like. I don't know, all of those for me somehow they're so captivating. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your book. Is Zeta one of the characters or is Zeta a planet?
No, so all right, so Zeta 5 is actually a large mining planet.
Okay.
Um, and in the book, I reference a fact it's called Zando crystals, and they come from the planet Zeta 5. But the planet itself, um, it has a large asteroid field that completely surrounds the planet.
Okay.
And every 3 months, the three moons align, and
Hmm.
they create an opening that you can actually fly into the planet.
Okay.
Uh, and the opening it stays open for a day and a half.
Hmm.
So if you're going to go in there, you got to do whatever you're going to do in a day and a half, and then get out, or you're going to be there for 3 months. So
Right.
that's the premise of what Zeta 5 is.
Okay.
So like I said, the when I was affected by Dune, it's like, okay, what can I do that would be kind of similar to that? Okay,
Yeah.
let's come up with a mining planet because that's what Dune is. I mean, they bring in the spice from that they mine from the planet. So
Mhm.
okay, I want to do something similar to that. So that's
Yeah.
where I came up with the concept of Zeta 5.
Well, I like the idea of like getting stuck there for 3 months. Like you got this small window, and if you make a mistake, and then okay, you're stuck for 3 months, and like, all right, what are the conditions on this planet, and what does that 3 months look like waiting for the portal to open back
Right.
up?
Right. So
Yeah.
so that actually is is a large premise in the book. Um, and within the universe, so there's an emperor, there's Connor, is really the main one of the main characters in the book, and he's
Hmm.
got his older brother Adam, and they're both brought up as warriors, and they help work with the emperor and his father, the Duke,
Hmm.
that they bring in additional planets and help bring them into the universe.
Hmm.
And so that's the book actually starts where they're on a planet that they're getting ready to bring in, and there's wars going on there, and they're trying to get that war settled so that they can bring the planet into the new fold of this new universe. And
Nice.
that's how the book starts.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I like that whole idea of bringing them into the fold too. I have this feeling like aliens are real and they're just kind of waiting for us to evolve to like we're not quite
Yeah,
ready to join them. They're like, hey, when you guys are not so primitive, we'll reach out and let you know that we're out here, but we'll quietly kind of watch over you for a bit, like zookeepers or something, you know?
exactly. And that's exactly the premise. I mean,
Nice.
okay, they've started space flight. They're starting to progress. So maybe they're at the point where we can bring them into the fold and see how they fit within the universe.
Right, join the Galactic Federation or whatever, you know.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I like it. So they mine on this planet, they mine like special crystals, you call them. I think you said like Xander
Yeah,
crystals.
yeah, Zando crystals, and what they do is
Xander.
they refine that down, and those crystals are used for interstellar flight.
Oh, okay. I like it. Oh, very cool. And then this is based in like kind of a distant, solar system or something, or be way out there.
Right. Yeah, this is a complete different universe. Yeah.
Yeah. And like humanoid type characters or human-esque or
Yeah,
something.
they're all humanoid characters, and I don't use ray guns. I use swords.
I like that.
And and in the second book, I explain why they use the swords. So in the
Mm,
first book, they're using swords. Um, they they do have pistols, but there are there's commented about the pistol in the first chapter, but that's
mm,
really it. And then it's swords from then on. And really, the conflict starts with the emperor's brother, Lorenzo. Lorenzo is basically he's a scientist. He's very smart, but he's doing a lot of stuff in the background. And his brother, the emperor, starts to dig into stuff and find out that he's doing things that maybe he shouldn't be doing. And
mm.
that's what starts the whole journey within the book.
Is he like threatening the emperor's power or trying to take power or just kind of undermine him like a rebellion? Or
Yeah, so as you dig into the book, you find out that yeah, he's actually developing weapons that
mm,
they're not aware of. And so there's a lab explosion in chapter two. There's a lab explosion that highlights some of the experiments that he's doing, and this
mm,
is what causes Connor with one of his mentors, Eric, and the two of them go to Zeta 5.
okay. Those are like hiding out or taking refuge or something.
Well, so no, what happens is, and this is kind of where the Stargate element comes into it,
Okay.
because with the lab, there's a lab explosion, and the Emperor and Eric's brother John
Hmm.
go to investigate what's going on because people have been killed,
Mm,
and Lorenzo isn't really telling his brother, the Emperor, um, what's going on. So they go
mm,
investigate for themselves. And that's when they see this phasing in there where they actually can see another world when they're looking at what was exposed with this explosion.
hmm.
So they determine that it's actually somewhere on Zeta 5 that they see where this portal is opened up to.
Oh,
But the
interesting.
portal will quickly disappear, so that's where they have to start doing their investigation.
Yeah, they got to hurry and get there and get onto
Right.
the surface or
Yeah, what
something.
Lorenzo is up to. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Um, so for the second books, you're just like basically just wait until the conditions feel right, and then you're like, okay, now we'll start teasing this one
Yep.
and like, get the
Yeah.
launch
So
ready.
actually, yeah, and actually what I did is in the back of the first book, I put the first 5 pages
Nice.
of book two. So that way you have a hint that the book is coming.
It's actually a great idea. Yeah, I like the QR code you have too. I got so burned doing a QR code. So like I went with one of those services that was like, oh, they're free. And then a week later they're like, well, they're free for the first week and now it's like 30 bucks a
Oh,
month.
geez.
So I've got
Oh,
some books
no.
floating out there with QR codes that lead nowhere. I'm like, I'm not going to pay $30 a month for these. And but I love the
Right,
idea.
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
love the idea because I mean, if a reader wants to leave you a review, like it's your paperback, if they could just scan the code right to the phone, right to the review section, I mean, you could just start stacking up reviews, and it takes the reader only 10 seconds to do, and saves them a ton of time and all this. And I was like, God, that'd be brilliant. But some of those services are a little, a little shady. Yeah,
right. Right. Yeah, fortunately, like I said, Paper Raven helped me out with this. So
nice.
yeah, and it links back to my web page, and they can sign up for a newsletter.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to work on the newsletter now. That's been a little um, tough effort for me, but I'm starting to work on that now so that I can try and get that out there.
I love that idea. I love the idea of having a partner like Paper Raven. I'm always looking for like podcast sponsors. So I may just like inquire with them a little bit because honestly, I mean, there's so much you have to learn as an indie author, and there's so much you're going to
Right.
learn the hard way without a partner.
Yep.
And all that stuff you learn the hard way. I mean, that's money you could have spent on marketing or advertisement or time you could have spent on something that actually works. So it's like, you're like shooting yourself in the foot with all the mistakes. But the mistakes, I mean, they have their place. They're important. Um, but yeah, the newsletter thing, God, I've been working on that too. And I cannot figure it out. Like I have like 400 and something people, but like I can't get people to open it. I'm like trying different like headlines,
Oh
different time
no,
of day.
really?
I'm like,
Yeah.
God, I don't understand why, people open some emails and not others, or sometimes one works and I can't tell
Right.
why it worked. And then another one flopped. And I'm like, I swear the better one flopped. No rhyme or reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Yep.
that was another thing I got surprised about because I did some advertising with written word media when I
Yeah.
was trying to push to get reviews. So I
Right.
was offering the ebook for free. So
Hmm.
written word media actually is doing a thing now, and they included my book as part of it. It didn't cost me anything. They've got
Nice.
like 20 books in there, and what they're doing, I guess they're trying to put feelers out there, but they're allowing people to sign up for your newsletter. So
Hmm.
when I went and looked the other day, there's 200 people, 250 people that have signed up to be
Nice.
part of it and what they're doing is they're giving a free Kindle away with all of
Okay.
these books loaded on it already.
Wow.
And yeah, yeah, and it was so it was basically free advertising for me. So I was surprised to see that.
No, that's great. I mean, any visibility, like anytime you've got people
Yeah,
looking at your book cover, you're like
yeah,
step in the right direction. And I have a weird philosophy on that. There was a weird thing I heard a couple years back. It was like some scientists were showing people in Australia a puzzle that like it was brand new, like no one had ever solved this puzzle. And then they had this group of people solve it. It took them like 6 hours. And then the next day they did the same puzzle in the UK and it took the people 1 hour. And it was almost like the fact that some people across the world had looked at it at all. It was like, I don't know. They were trying to study like a collective consciousness thing or something, right? But
right,
I have this feeling like if people are looking at your book is more visible everywhere. Like somehow it's like the name is being whispered and the echo of the book's name is like, people are tuning
right.
into it somewhere, right? Yeah,
Well, yeah, and that's so that's the other thing too is I mean, like I discovered you on TikTok
right.
is start to expand that effort out there. So I've given my book to some of the indie supporters out there like Mama D
Yeah,
and
yeah.
um Alana from Brewer Story. I don't know
Hmm.
if you know her.
No, no.
Um, well, reach out to her. So it's a Brewer Story. She's
Okay.
actually starting. She has. If you go to her link, she's actually asking indie authors to sign up for it, and then she's going to do a thing for each author read their book, and then
Oh,
post it with her group. And she's got like 20,000 followers. Mama
wow.
D has like 20,000 followers, right?
Yeah. No, Mama D is great. I mean, she's just amazing, like indie author
Right.
advocate and so sweet and such a prolific
Yeah.
reader. I'm a slow reader, but
Yep.
some of these like they're just flying through books and they're not missing anything too. I mean, they're catching everything in the book, and I was like, goodness, like y'all are just like
Yep.
just zooming through. I'm like, wow, you know. But yeah, the whole TikTok thing has been huge for the authors. I know there's other avenues. Like I was at an event over the weekend, met a whole bunch of authors who like aren't really using social media at all. And it was like because they're not using social media, they found all these other avenues. And I learned so much. And I just feel like, the best thing we can do is to kind of just pull on all the threads available, right? I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, like, definitely use the TikTok thing because it's been great. And it's amazing because the readers they'll leave you a review and then they'll also make a video and then you might pick up two or three, four more readers. And it was just like, I mean, it's amazing, right? Like I need the reviews, I need people talking about the book, like people knowing the name.
Yep.
In marketing, they say like sometimes people need to see a product 7 times before they buy it. So it's like 7 readers on TikTok making a video. I mean, that might be just like what it takes, and suddenly a
The
hundred people.
catalyst, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
you never know. Like after that seventh video, like you're not seeing anything, and then suddenly 100 people buy it, and it was like, you never know, right? But yeah,
No, you
working
don't.
the yeah. Hey, so where about North Carolina are you? Just out of curiosity.
So we're in Gibsonville between Greensboro and Burlington.
Okay,
So almost central
okay.
part of North Carolina. Yep.
I'm more familiar with like the Appalachian side more than anything, and then I have some family out by like Wilmington. Um,
Okay.
but it's just gorgeous out there. Where were you from before that, or where were you working out of?
So I was born and raised in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Then with work, I moved to Southern California. We were there for, I don't know, maybe 10 years. And then with work, I was moved to Rochester, New York.
Yeah, okay.
So that's a bit of a culture shock to go from Southern California to Rochester, New
I
York.
believe it. Was it like Los Angeles or San Diego?
It was Lancaster, which is 60 miles northeast of LA.
Okay. But yeah, going then to Rochester. Yeah. Completely different worlds, right?
Right, right.
Well, that's
So
pretty cool.
actually, a week after the moving truck had dropped off all our stuff there,
Hmm.
I was sorting everything in the garage. This huge thunderstorm comes barreling right over the top of our house. The whole
Right.
house is rumbling, thunder and lightning, monsoon rain is going off. My wife comes running into the garage. She goes, I don't like it here. I want to go home. I said, babe, we are home. And she points at me. She goes, you got 5 years to get us out of here.
Oh God. So that was the 5 years up until COVID and then down to North Carolina.
No, no, no. Well, so actually, 4.5 years. That's when I got the opportunity to support HP and move to McKinney, Texas.
Oh,
So
nice.
we went from Rochester, New York to McKinney, Texas. So then we
God.
spent 4 years in McKinney before we moved here.
Man, you've been kind of working the corners, right? Like California,
Yeah,
New York, North Carolina, Texas, and you're like,
yeah.
they tried
Well,
try Tennessee or something, something a little more in the middle. Sometimes.
and actually, if you want to talk about corners, so when I moved to Southern California, the
Yeah.
company that I was um, asked to support was Washington Mutual,
Mm.
which doesn't exist anymore. They're part of Chase when the whole
Okay.
financial debacle hit.
Yeah.
And probably less than a year after the company moved us to LA to support Washington Mutual, all of their senior management moved to Seattle.
Mm. Yeah.
So my manager looked at me and says, looks like you're flying. We already moved you to LA. We're not moving you to Seattle. So I spent 5 years commuting from LA to Seattle.
Oh gosh, I do love. Yeah, that's probably it is beautiful out there though. I will say, like, I had family in Seattle for a long time, and um, I didn't spend much time in the winters. In the summers, it can be just like lovely, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I all that like cloudiness
Yeah,
wears
a
me
lot of
down.
gray, a lot of rain most of the time. Yeah.
I need sunny days for my well being. Like, give me some
Well,
sunshine. Yeah.
fortunately for me, I used to get I would leave Monday morning and then I would come back Friday evening. So I had the
Yeah.
weekend to spend in the high desert where it's warm
Right. You're like, I want to warm up. I'm going to
sunny
get some
and
sun, and then I'll
yeah.
go back into the gray for a bit. Yeah. Oh,
Yep,
but something about Seattle. A lot of art comes out of Seattle. A lot of music, a
yep,
lot of books.
yeah,
Interesting cultural hub for art and stuff.
it is.
So I'll after the episode here, I will have you email me all the links and everything. I'll put everything in the description for
Okay.
people to find the book. We got about 7 minutes here. I could pick your brain about marketing all day. I do want to like probably stay focused on your book more so than just my own personal questions because we're all out on this journey. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
let me ask you though, really quick. I have some
Yes.
advertisements. I've never really tried advertisements, and I'm trying this out now. I have some scheduled with written word media
Right.
that are coming out in the next month here, and I feel like their prices are very good. I don't really know what to expect, but it feels like they're very reasonable in terms of what they're asking. So, like, I have high hopes. You know what I mean?
Yep. So
Yeah.
I can tell you that Paper Raven set up with my launch,
Hmm.
and and I got within during that week I got 4,000 downloads.
No kidding.
Yeah. But then after that, when I was doing it on my own, like I did one 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago,
Mhm.
it was still not bad. It was 350 downloads.
Nice.
Yeah. They do an awesome job, and they're actually here in North Carolina. The
Oh,
main
no
office
kidding.
is here in North Carolina. Yeah.
Oh,
Um, but and I've done a little bit with Bussy Librarian. I don't know if you know them,
no, no.
but they're not bad. I've gotten like 50 or 60 hits with them, where written word media is kind of the big player when you're trying to get people to see your book and the rest of
Yeah.
it. So that's, and like I said, like you said, the prices are not that bad for what you're trying to do.
Well, the other thing that I've really appreciated, like, so their customer service people have been tremendous. Like, shout out to this lady, Nancy, I'm
Yes.
working with, by the way. But, you go on these other places like BookBub or Goodreads, and like they all want your money, but then their websites don't even work right. And everything is like out of date, and it's like hard to even adjust anything at all. And I'm just like,
Yep.
God, like, for all the money you guys are making, like, maybe reinvest in yourself so like the buttons work on your website. You know what I mean? Like the links lead
Right.
somewhere. I'm like, my goodness. But yeah, the written
Yeah,
word,
I did.
media. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I did BookBub one time and I was not happy with them at all.
I don't know. I was looking at it yesterday, and it was like, they got like my previous author name because I like adjusted a couple years ago. They got all the old book covers, and I was like, goodness, like before I do anything, even like look at an advertisement, I was like, there is a lot of work I got to do to just make sure the listing is up to date. And it was like, I was like, it's a bit of a mountain climb here. Like, it'd be easier to start fresh than to like go to every single book and be like, oh, this is no longer the right cover. No, no, this is no longer the right description. And I'm
Right.
just like, I don't know. I'm like, it doesn't even feel like worth the time to
To
first get them.
invest in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'd rather written word medium, but they're like, I don't know. I mean, I'm loving like the options. It's very easy to work with. So like, I'm hoping they'll eventually become a sponsor of this podcast because, I mean, we need visibility and that help, right? I mean, there's
Yes.
like a million books
Yes.
published a year, and there's a question: how do you make yours stand
Right.
out in a crowd of 1 million?
Right.
And
Exactly. How do you? Yep.
and I think like any company, like you need to advertise, right? Even McDonald's still advertises relentlessly. I mean, we know where the McDonald's is. There's one on every corner, but yet they need to remind
Right.
people, hey, we're here. And I think we need
Yep.
to take the same approach, right? But like you can't just drop $1,500 or $600. I mean, it would just like, especially if it takes
Right.
6 days to get that back, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm hoping I got very high hopes that my campaigns will be successful and that I can then start steering other authors their way because I know some amazing authors, including yourself. People I've done podcasts with, and I was like, oh, these books would be so cool if they got out there and got a lot of eyes on them, people reading them. I mean, there's so many worlds to explore in all these indie books, and um,
Right. There are.
the
Yep.
readers would love it if they knew about it. So yeah,
Yeah. And that's it
so
exactly. Getting it to the readers.
yeah. Hey, so let me tell you about let me ask about the main character in your book.
Yep.
Main characters are always interesting to me because they always got to have this heroic element. They got to be like, tell me about your protagonist.
So, all right. So, like I said, Connor is the younger brother. His brother Adam is a well-known warrior out there with a a lot of effort behind him. So, and Connor wants to be just like his brother.
Mm.
So when he gets the opportunity to go to Zeta 5, he gets involved with what they have is they have like a different warrior clans there on
Hmm.
Zeta 5. And because they become civilized now, they have like these competitions, battle competitions between their head warriors.
Okay.
And Connor hears about this and it's like, yeah, I want into this. And it's
Right.
like,
Let me get in on this contest. Let me fight in the
yeah, how do I
Coliseum.
get out of this contest?
Yeah.
And Eric, his mentor, is going, kid, man, I fought in these battles. I helped settle this planet, and these are not for the faint of heart. And it's like Connor's like, no, no,
Right.
no, I want it, I want it, I want it. And they find them the on Zeta 5, they find the main leader there for Zeta 5. And he says, well, he says, if you want to get involved, he says, I'll help you get involved. He says, but you could lose your life here.
Like it's your funeral, but like, yeah, I'll help you. Yeah.
Right, right.
I love that they fight with swords. I don't know what it is. We're captivated by it. Like even like,
Yep,
Enter the Badlands or like, anything about the samurais, the lightsabers. I don't know what it is about Kill Bill was great where they got the samurai
yep,
swords going. I don't know what
yep.
it is. That's so much more fun than guns. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
I think
Oh,
it's more you've got to stare your opponent in the eye when you're doing it, is really what it
it's
comes
very
down to.
personal and it takes skill, right? It's not a matter of luck.
Yeah,
And there's an artistic, I don't know, there's something about swords. It's like a beautiful martial art and almost like, you see the Japanese calligraphy and it's like a whole body movement or the Tai Chi. I don't know. There's something about swords that's very majestic and the art form of
yeah.
sword fighting, right?
Yeah, and I was when I was talking about some of the fight scenes in there, I'm standing here holding sticks and stuff, trying to figure out, okay, how would they actually stand? How would they actually do this? And I was looking for some books that did it, but they didn't really go into that kind of description. So I was really on my own trying to figure it out. And the editors actually commented about the fact that I
Record. Wait, so were you like practicing with sticks in the backyard? You'd be like, okay, how do they move? And
yeah, yeah, trying to work it out to okay, and then trying to actually put into words what I'm actually standing there doing. So
right, describe these movements. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's a good exercise though. I don't know. There's something about like tuning your brain to a problem, right? You're like thinking
yep,
about like, okay, how would I describe this movement? And it makes you even contemplating that makes you a better writer. You're like, okay, how would I say that? Or how would, yeah, it's kind of
yep,
interesting.
right, right.
So
So the editors had some minor tweaks to it, but they said for the most part that had it pretty much dialed in. So I felt really good about that.
I love that. Yeah, fight scenes are interesting to write. Because you got both people, and one of the things is like fights themselves are very, very quick. So you're like describing what people are doing, but you can't if you use too much detail, then it's slow because it's slow to read. So
Right.
it's an interesting little puzzle for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, creating that
Absolutely.
movement and it's fast paced and it's excited and it's punching. All right, but anyway, I'm gonna let you go for now. I will
Okay.
put all your links in the description, and then hey, when your next book is coming out, reach out to me, and I'd love to have you back on here,
Okay.
and we can, as you're launching and everything, we'll do a
All
little
right.
promo, and yeah, we'll just
Awesome.
try to have a solid book launch here.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to actually sit down and talk with you in person.
Yeah,
Um,
no, this is cool. I'm loving the podcast. I'm loving all the amazing people I'm meeting. I mean, all these, and I want to be surrounded by people who have a dream and a story and they're willing to go after it, willing to make it real and
yep.
something to say. It's
Right.
just I know I love that. I don't know. It always inspires me. And every
Yeah.
time I do the podcast, I'm like, damn it, I need to like get writing. I got to get typing here. Damn it. Yeah.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah.
I do want to comment. So
Sure.
I read your book, The Nobody Who Fights Dragons.
Oh, nice.
I loved it. I loved it. That was nice. I was kind of rooting. that the dragon would survive, but the way that you wrote it, I knew he wasn't really gonna, but still.
It
So I
was
left
that
your
was
review on it. I liked it very much. So
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, I
yeah,
usually write like philosophical and spiritual. That one was more just like straight up for fun. And I mean, I
yeah.
didn't even know what was going to happen in the story, but yeah, when the dragon's head explodes and he's got to figure out how to escape, I was like, I was laughing writing this. I was like, man, this is so stupid and fun, and this is just good time here. Well, I
I
appreciate you
loved
checking
it.
it out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I loved it. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Moreno, this has been fun. But yeah, definitely let me know, when the next one's coming
I
out.
will.
We'll for sure be in touch.
Okay.
And yeah, hope to have you back on here soon.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. All right.
Talk to you
Bye-bye.
later. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.